Have you ever looked closely at a pair of jeans and wondered about all the strange little details stitched into them? The decorative lines on the back pockets, the shiny metal rivets, the golden thread, the tiny pocket no bigger than 2 fingers. They're so familiar that most of us never stop to question them. But here's the truth. None of these things are accidental. Every stitch, every metal piece, every shade of blue exists because of a very specific moment in history, shaped by harsh work, ingenious problem-solving, and the rugged spirit of the American frontier. Today, we're pulling back those layers to uncover how a humble work pant became one of the most iconic garments on Earth. To understand why jeans were invented, we have to step into the harsh world of the 1850s American West. During the California Gold Rush, thousands of miners worked from dawn until dark, navigating unforgiving landscapes, lifting heavy loads, and crawling through dirt and stone. Their clothing simply wasn't designed for this level of abuse. Wool pants tore within days. Thin cotton trousers ripped even faster. Every tear meant spending precious wages on replacements. Clothing wasn't fashion. It was survival gear. And survival gear was failing. Among the bustling streets of San Francisco, a young immigrant named Levi Strauss arrived with no intention of digging for gold. Instead, he came to support the miners by selling practical goods: blankets, tools, tent canvas, and sturdy fabrics. He quickly saw a pattern. Everyone complained that their pants fell apart too quickly. Strauss did have material durable enough to withstand harsh conditions, a thick brown canvas used for making wagon covers and tents. It was strong, no doubt, but too stiff and uncomfortable to be the perfect solution. Still, this humble fabric marked the beginning of something extraordinary. As the gold rush intensified, so did the pressure on clothing. Every miner needed pants that could survive daily friction, tools rubbing against pockets, heavy loads straining seams, constant moisture weakening stitches. The West was a testing ground of durability, and most garments simply didn't pass. The economic burden was obvious. If your pants tore every week, your wages disappeared just trying to replace them. This gap between what workers needed and what clothing could provide set the stage for one of the most practical inventions in American history. A new kind of pant was waiting to be born, one that could endure everything the frontier demanded. While Levi Strauss was building his wholesale business in San Francisco, more than 200 miles away in Reno, Nevada, another key figure was quietly working behind a humble tailor's counter. His name was Jacob Davis, a skilled craftsman, a Russian Jewish immigrant, and a man who listened closely to the needs of working people. Davis wasn't chasing wealth or fame. He was simply trying to solve everyday problems for his community. And one problem came to him repeatedly. Men kept ripping their pockets. Tools, rocks, and sheer physical strain tore open the same weak points over and over again. The issue wasn't the fabric, it was the stress concentrated at the seams. Davis needed a solution that would reinforce those vulnerable points without making the pants uncomfortable. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source: the saddlery hardware in his workshop. Davis often worked with leather harnesses reinforced by metal rivets, small copper fasteners that kept thick straps from tearing apart. One day, he wondered, almost casually, if a rivet can hold leather together under strain, why not fabric? It was a simple thought, but revolutionary in practice. He tested the idea by placing copper rivets at pocket corners and along key stress points on sturdy work pants. The results were immediate and impressive. The pockets no longer tore, the seams held strong, and word spread quickly across the Nevada territory. People began asking specifically for those pants with the copper rivets. Demand grew faster than Davis could ever supply. But success brought a new problem. Davis realized that if others copied his idea, which they easily could, he would lose everything. He needed a patent. But filing a patent cost $68, a sum far beyond what a local tailor could spare in the 1870s. So Davis turned to the one person he believed might recognize the potential: Levi Strauss, his fabric supplier. In a letter dated 1872, Davis explained the rivet innovation and proposed a partnership. He needed financial backing. Strauss needed a breakthrough product. It was a perfect match waiting to happen. When Strauss read the letter, he immediately understood that Davis had created something extraordinary, something that could reshape workwear entirely. In 1873, the partnership between Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis moved from idea to invention. Strauss agreed to finance the patent application, recognizing that Davis's rivet innovation could transform workwear across the American West. Together, they filed for legal protection of an improvement in fastening pocket openings, as the patent document plainly described it. The language may have been modest, but its impact was anything but. On May 20, 1873, the United States Patent Office officially granted patent number 139121 to Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis. That date marks the birth of what we now know as the blue jean, a garment built not from fashion trends, but from necessity, practicality, and the relentless demands of frontier life. With the patent secured, Strauss and Davis began producing what they called waist overalls, the earliest name for jeans. These were sturdy work pants made from heavy-duty fabric and reinforced with copper rivets at every major stress point: pocket corners, seam edges, and the base of the fly. The innovation wasn't glamorous, it was functional. But for miners, lumber workers, and railroad builders, that function meant everything. These pants could survive rough terrain, long shifts, and constant tension without falling apart. For the first time, workers had clothing that matched the toughness of their labor. As demand surged, Strauss expanded production in San Francisco, transforming Davis's quiet idea into a rapidly growing industry. What truly set the invention apart was not just durability, but trust. Workers quickly learned that these reinforced pants saved money, time, and frustration. Instead of replacing trousers weekly, they could rely on a single pair to withstand months, even years of wear. This reliability spread by word of mouth across mining camps and railroad crews. Jeans weren't advertised. They were recommended, praised, and passed from one worker to another as a practical secret worth sharing. In an era where every dollar mattered, Strauss and Davis had created not just a product, but a lifeline. The modern jean wasn't simply clothing, it was a tool for survival on the frontier. To understand why jeans look and behave the way they do, we have to explore the fabric at their core: denim. Unlike knitted fabrics, which are formed by looping yarns together and create a stretchy, flexible texture, denim belongs to the woven family, a structure built by interlacing threads at right angles. But what makes denim truly distinctive is its twill weave. In a twill, the horizontal weft thread passes under two or more vertical warp threads before rising over one, creating the familiar diagonal lines seen on the surface of every pair of jeans. This diagonal structure doesn't just look good, it distributes tension more evenly across the fabric, making denim strong enough to survive brutal working conditions. Another defining characteristic of denim is the way it's dyed. Most fabrics are dyed evenly across all threads, but denim is different. Only the warp threads, the vertical ones, are dyed, while the weft threads remain their natural light color. This selective dyeing was originally done to save money, since dye was expensive and jeans were meant to be affordable work garments. But the technique also produced denim's signature look: a deep blue exterior and a lighter interior. Over time, as the indigo-dyed warp threads fade and wear away, the white weft begins to show through, creating the beautiful, personalized fading patterns that denim lovers admire today. The twill weave and selective dyeing work together to give denim its toughness, flexibility, and unique aging process. Unlike plain weave fabrics, denim becomes more comfortable the longer you wear it, gradually shaping itself to the contours of your body. This evolution, from stiff and structured to soft and personalized, is part of what makes denim beloved across generations. It's a fabric that tells stories, not through decoration, but through wear. Each fade pattern, crease, and abrasion marks a moment in the life of its wearer. In a way, denim is both a material and a memory, durable enough to survive hard labor, yet expressive enough to show the traces of everyday human experience. For most of their early history, jeans were made entirely from 100% cotton denim. This sturdy cotton twill was tough enough for miners and rail workers, yet flexible enough to move with the body as it softened over time. Classic denim was heavy, structured, and built to last, which is exactly why early jeans became legendary for their durability. But as jeans shifted from pure workwear to everyday clothing, the expectations around comfort began to change. People wanted denim that felt softer on day one, stretched more easily, and adapted to different body types without requiring months of wear. This shift in demand opened the door to new fiber blends that would reshape the feel of jeans forever. By the late 20th century, manufacturers began blending cotton with synthetic fibers like lycra, elastane, and spandex. These materials added stretch, allowing jeans to hug the body more closely while still maintaining freedom of movement. The rise of skinny jeans in the 2000s, for example, would not have been possible without elastane fibers woven into the fabric. On the other end of the spectrum, cheaper denim began incorporating polyester, producing lighter, less expensive jeans that met the price demands of mass-market fashion. These blends fundamentally changed how jeans behaved, making them more accessible, adaptable, and aligned with modern lifestyles. But these innovations also reflect a larger shift in the fashion world, the rise of fast fashion. As denim became a global staple, production accelerated, costs were cut, and durability was no longer the only priority. Fast fashion pushed manufacturers to create jeans quickly, cheaply, and in constant rotation of styles. While this made denim more widely available than ever, it also meant sacrificing some of the long-lasting quality that defined early jeans. The evolution from rugged workwear to stretchy, fashion-driven apparel reveals how denim has adapted, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, to the demands of a changing world. Long before blue jeans became a global icon, the color blue itself carried a complicated history. For centuries, brightly colored dyes were a luxury reserved for royalty and the wealthy. Reds, purples, and vivid blues required rare minerals or painstaking extraction methods that made them far too expensive for everyday clothing. But everything changed with the growing use of indigo, a deep blue dye derived from the indigofera plant. Indigo was far cheaper, required less dye material, and bonded well to cotton fibers. As a result, it became the perfect solution for workwear, strong enough to withstand dirt and grime, dark enough to conceal stains, and affordable enough for ordinary people. Another reason indigo became so essential to denim lies in how it bonds to fabric. Most dyes penetrate deep into the fibers, but indigo behaves differently. It clings only to the outer surface of the cotton yarn. This means that as denim is worn, washed, and rubbed, tiny bits of dye break away, allowing the lighter inner fibers to peek through. Over time, this creates the fade patterns that denim enthusiasts love: whiskers, honeycombs, and all the marks that make each pair of jeans unique. Instead of looking old or worn out, jeans develop character. Indigo doesn't just color denim, it transforms it into a living material that records the daily movements of its wearer. Indigo's practicality also meant that blue became the default color for workers across the American West. A dark, rich blue could hide soil, dust, and sweat better than almost any other shade, and it aged gracefully even under harsh conditions. As jeans grew in popularity, the color blue became inseparable from them. So much so that blue jeans became a single concept rather than two separate words. What began as an economic choice eventually turned into an aesthetic and cultural identity. The blue of denim now symbolizes durability, authenticity, and the spirit of everyday life. A color worn by miners, rebels, artists, farmers, movie stars, and just about everyone else. When jeans were first invented, they didn't include a zipper at all, simply because the zipper hadn't been invented yet. Early jeans used a row of metal buttons, durable enough for miners and ranchers who needed clothing that wouldn't fail under pressure. The story of the zipper itself, however, is a fascinating journey of trial, innovation, and persistence. It began in the late 19th century with Elias Howe, the inventor of the sewing machine, who first imagined a continuous clothing closure. But Howe never fully pursued the idea, leaving the concept to drift unanswered. It wasn't until Whitcomb Judson attempted to create a clasp locker in 1893 that the idea gained a mechanical form, though his design jammed easily and wasn't reliable enough for everyday use. Real progress finally came from Gideon Sundback, a Swedish-American engineer who refined Judson's concept in the early 1910s. Sundback introduced a system of interlocking metal teeth, far stronger and smoother than anything created before. His 1913 design, originally called the hookless fastener, laid the foundation for the modern zipper. During World War I, Sundback's invention found its first major practical use in military gear, where efficiency and durability were crucial. Soldiers relied on zippered pouches, boots, and equipment, proving the mechanism's reliability under extreme conditions. Still, zipper adoption in everyday clothing came slowly. It would take another 2 decades for the public to trust and embrace this strange new closure. It wasn't until the 1930s that zippers entered mainstream fashion, beginning with children's clothing. Advertisements praised zippers for helping kids dress themselves quickly, a selling point that resonated with parents. From there, the zipper moved into adult garments, including jackets, trousers, and eventually jeans. Although Levi's and other denim makers initially stayed with button flies for tradition and durability, zippers gradually gained acceptance. By the mid-20th century, the zipper had become a common alternative to button closures, offering speed and convenience that fit modern lifestyles. Today, whether your jeans use buttons or a zipper depends mostly on style preference, but the zipper's long, winding journey remains one of the quieter triumphs of everyday engineering. If you've ever wondered about that tiny pocket tucked inside the right front pocket of your jeans, the one barely large enough for 2 fingers, you're not alone. Many people assume it's decorative or meant for coins, but its original purpose goes back to the 1800s. This small compartment was designed as a watch pocket, made specifically to hold a pocket watch securely against the body. Before wristwatches became universal, miners, ranchers, and railroad workers relied on pocket watches to keep time during long workdays. Because their jobs involved constant movement and heavy physical labor, a protected spot was essential. Jeans needed to keep that watch safe, and the tiny pocket did exactly that. Over time, as pocket watches faded out of everyday use, the tiny pocket evolved into other roles: a place for coins, guitar picks, matches, USB drives, and whatever small essentials people carry today. Even though its original function has largely disappeared, denim makers kept the pocket as a nod to tradition and craftsmanship. It became part of the jeans' identity, a detail so iconic that removing it would feel like erasing a piece of denim history. Today, this pocket is a reminder of how jeans were built not as fashion statements, but as tools for real workers with real needs. It's a small detail that connects the modern wearer to the miners and laborers who shaped the earliest days of denim. One of the most overlooked yet essential elements of a pair of jeans is the yoke, the V-shaped or curved panel that sits just below the waistband on the back. At first glance, it might seem like a simple design flourish, but the yoke plays a critical structural role. In the 19th century, most trousers were high-waisted, sitting well above the hips. The yoke helped transition the fabric smoothly from the fuller shape of the seat to the narrower shape of the waist. Without it, denim would bunch, twist, or pull in uncomfortable ways. The yoke allowed jeans to follow the natural curves of the body, creating a better fit and distributing tension more evenly, a practical necessity for workers who moved constantly. Over time, the yoke also became a subtle way to shape the silhouette of jeans. Different cuts, deep V-shaped yokes, shallow curves, or straight designs influence how the jeans sit on the body and how they visually frame the wearer's shape. A deeper yoke naturally provides more contouring, while a straighter yoke creates a more relaxed, boxy appearance. Though most people never consciously notice it, the yoke quietly determines much of a jean's comfort and character. It is one of those hidden engineering features that blends seamlessly into design, reminding us that jeans were created with movement, durability, and human anatomy in mind. On the back pockets of nearly every pair of Levi's jeans, you'll find a distinctive double-arched stitch, a simple yet iconic shape known as the arcuate. At first glance, it looks decorative, maybe even ornamental, but its significance goes far beyond aesthetics. In the late 1800s, when jeans were still strictly workwear, brand identity wasn't displayed through logos or labels. Instead, companies used stitching patterns to identify their garments from a distance. Levi's chose the double arch, a fluid, symmetrical design that subtly resembled the wings of a bird. Though no official meaning was ever confirmed, the arcuate became a visual signature, a way for workers and merchants to recognize Levi's quality even in a crowded general store. During World War II, the U.S. government enforced strict rationing, including limits on the use of thread. Denim manufacturers were required to reduce unnecessary stitching. To comply, Levi's temporarily stopped sewing the arcuate and instead painted the design onto the pockets using yellow pigment. This improvisation ensured the brand identity remained intact while respecting wartime restrictions. After the war, stitching resumed, and the arcuate grew even more strongly associated with the Levi's name. Over the decades, Levi's fiercely protected this design, filing lawsuits against companies whose pocket stitching looked too similar. It became not just decoration, but intellectual property and a cornerstone of denim history. If you look closely at a pair of jeans, one detail stands out immediately: the golden thread running along the seams and pockets. This warm yellow color has become so iconic that it's hard to imagine jeans without it. But the choice wasn't originally about style. It was about practicality. In the 1800s, stitching thread was commonly made from linen, a natural fiber that carried a beige or pale straw tone. When dyed, it easily shifted toward shades of yellow and gold. More importantly, linen thread was strong enough to handle the friction and stress of heavy work. So the now famous golden stitching wasn't a design statement at first. It was simply the most reliable material available for garments meant to survive rugged labor. As textile technology evolved, linen thread gradually gave way to cotton thread, which was softer and easier to produce at scale. Eventually, cotton too was replaced by polyester, a synthetic fiber far more resistant to moisture, abrasion, and tension. Today, nearly all mass-produced jeans use polyester thread for durability and consistency. Another unmistakable feature is the double top stitching seen along